I'm sick and tired of this uncertainty. I'm sick and tired of the not knowing, of the constant COVID sword of Damocles hanging over this nation's head. This hokey-cokey approach to the coronavirus has got this nation all shook up, and it's got us all in mental limbo. It's the not knowing, isn't it? Whether or not people will stick to the rules is one thing. Whether or not people agree with any restrictions is one thing. Just look at what happened last year when Whitty was like, don't go home for Christmas, unpack your bags now, and then there was one of the largest queues ever at Euston Station. But last night, we needed a plan from Boris, and instead we got 3 hours of cabinet discussion and absolutely no results whatsoever. The scientific community want him to act now. They want him to act early, some would say too early, to prevent another longer lockdown. The majority of his cabinet apparently want him to wait for the figures and then act. I think that's probably fair enough, really. But some people would say that would be too late. But instead, we've just got nothing, have we? We've just got a message from Boris saying he's still reserving the right to impose restrictions before Christmas. I might do them after. I don't know what I'm doing. He can't make his mind up. He's the man that you hate to go out for dinner with, the one who spends an hour deliberating what starter he's going to order. It's damaging the country's mental health. I'm not saying he's got an easy job at all. I really don't envy the guy. But we do need leadership at the end of the day, don't we? Will we have Christmas together? Will pubs and restaurants be open for Christmas? They need to know for sure. They could maybe still cancel stock. They could close and save on the electricity bills. The people who were still thinking of going out for Christmas dinner could now prepare for Christmas indoors and get the supplies in. People will have holidays booked. Are they going to go on them? Will we be able to travel back home for Christmas? People are elected at the end of the day to make decisions. People are elected sometimes to make unpopular decisions. People are not elected to make no decision whatsoever. We cannot live our lives trapped in a vortex of Boris Johnson's uncertainty. Let's have a look at what Boris Johnson is apparently considering. 1. Families will be asked to limit indoor contacts without legal enforcement. 2. Mandate curbs on household mixing, the return of social distancing, and an 8 p.m. curfew on pubs and restaurants. 3. Lockdown. What we're hearing is the most likely option. Well, I'll tell you, it's a month-long circuit breaker lockdown on or around December the 28th. That's what we're hearing anyway. So what does that really mean? Work from home if you can, no socialising indoors, hairdressers and beauty salons would remain open, higher education would move to learning remotely, indoor entertainment would be closed, and no holidays. How do you feel about that? Would you rather have had restrictions over Christmas to avoid longer, more draconian restrictions after Christmas? But to add to this absolute chaos, there are 2 more very important points that I'd like to raise here. Firstly, it's emerged today that apparently half of COVID patients in London, which is the UK's COVID capital essentially, isn't it? It's also the capital, of course. Apparently half of those patients in hospitals were diagnosed with COVID after they arrived in hospital. So it wasn't COVID that hospitalised them. But they are, of course, classed as being in hospital with COVID, so it looks as though they've been levelled by this virus, when in fact they haven't been. Now, this affects SAGE's modelling and means that doomsday predictions, yet again, of NHS hospitals being overwhelmed could be massively exaggerated. And I now firmly believe that any kind of medical press conference should be followed or done in conjunction with an economic press conference. Government borrowing came in above expectations at 17.4 billion, only 4.9 billion below last year, and the second highest on record. Meanwhile, the country's debt pile has reached £2.32 trillion. That's equivalent to 96.1% of GDP, the worst ratio since 1963. Inflation is still surging and forcing the Bank of England to raise interest rates. This is a very difficult conversation to have. But are we now at the stage where we have to have a chat as a nation about at what cost do we impose restrictions, especially if hospitalisations and deaths aren't spiralling? Boris Johnson has got to man up. He's got to pick a side and stick to it. Because what people hate more than the wrong decision is no decision at all. Look what happened at the darts. Listen to this darts crowd now. Take a look at this video. OK, so that was the darts. Stand up if you hate Boris. And let's have a look at what happened at the football now as well. I think we all know what word that was there, don't we, that we've had to bleep out. But I just want to make this point. People want to like Boris Johnson, I think. I think people want to go for a pint with him. I think people want to see him do well. I think people at the football and at the darts normally really would quite like the guy. But he has to tell us what he thinks, doesn't he? And he's gone too far now. If Keir Starmer is Captain Hindsight, then it's starting to look a lot like Boris Johnson should be called General Indecision.